What's up, fam? Hey, thank y'all for tuning in once again. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so that every time I drop a video, you will be the first to be notified. All right, let's hit a touchy subject. No, this is not about any Aboriginal black people or any black people whatsoever. But it is an important topic because it affects everybody. And I know I'm probably I'm probably going to get some thumbs down on this, but that's okay. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to like what I'm saying, but you can't. I don't think you can dispute what I'm saying. If you think you can, leave a comment below and share it with the world. Ain't nothing to it. But you see the title. You know, the question is, did the Democrats, let's say liberals, did the liberals, that's including politicians, media, whoever, did they fail a 10-year-old girl from Ohio? And the reason why I say that is, let's do a backstory. You know, recently, the last couple of years, there's been a big push with the LGBTQ community. You know, putting them out to the forefront. I'm not really understanding why, because, they talk about, it's one thing to talk about being harmed, being, crimes being committed against you, because we talk about it all the time. Whether, a lot of times it'd be like racially motivated crimes that we talk about, that people do against us. But these are like gender specific assaults and crimes, okay? Like I said, it's one thing to talk about that, but it's really not as vast as the media would try to make you believe, right? So you try to wonder, like, why are they trying to push people's sexual orientation, sexual preference on the world, on the masses, in pretty much everything that's out there, visually or musically. Then, and you know how people like to hop onto a bandwagon. Then you get these guys, which I don't remember their names. You can Google it yourself. One guy who, he was a wannabe politician or what have you, trying to push an agenda to make pedophilia legal, right? And he hopped on that alphabet group to try to say, well, people feel like heterosexual, men and women. And you got people who want to deal with their own gender. But you also got people who, like to deal with younger people, and younger people, would like to deal with older people. Now, I'm gonna say with the alphabet group, man, you do what you do. You consenting adults. You're old enough and mature enough to know what you're doing. You do what you do, but don't push that. You shouldn't push that on everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because ain't nobody. I mean, from what I feel, I don't think they're pushing, heterosexual activity on people. Well, maybe the LGBTQ community feels that way. But people who promote pedophilia are pretty much just sick. And you can try to say that, well, because you can try to say that, these kids, they have feelings for us, and you know what I'm saying? They know, and they like us. They know what they're doing. This, no. Because, scientific studies show that, the human brain really doesn't start fully understanding what's going on in the world and how to deal with the world until the age of 25. You can't go to the military till you're 18. You can't buy cigarettes and stuff until you're 21. Things of this nature. Alcohol till you're 21. Things of this nature. And truth be told, little kids, and I just say like little girls, when they're like 2-3 years old, the studies show that they have crushes on like brothers or their dad, because these are masculine men and they protecting them and they're making them feel good, you know, and that's, you know, and let's say even little boys might have like, you know, crushes on their mom or older sister, whatever the case may be. Well, I don't know, but I didn't have an older sister and then fell away from my mom, I don't remember. But like I say, I know, like I said, little girls, they feel that way towards, you know, the protector and the provider of their family. You know, you see videos of like little girls that get jealous if the man, like one little TikTok, Instagram video I saw, little girl got jealous of her dad massaging her mom's feet. And the little girl could be no more than like 2 or 3 years old. So you're going to sit there and tell me that little child is old enough and understands that if some old guy want to get in a relationship with her, she will understand that. Man, you got to be, like I say, you sick as a dog, you know, if you believe that. But again, like I go back to what I was saying, politicians wanted to make that legal, right? Trying to push that stuff to be legal. The people jump on the liberal side and then use it for stuff that makes no sense. And the problem is because the liberal want votes and they want financing and, you know, money given to their PACs, they don't say too much about it out all in the open like that. They're like, they just, you know, they're just like act like it's no big deal, but it is. It's a big deal. It may not be widespread, but it's a big deal to that one girl in Ohio who was assaulted, who was, let's say, impregnated, and we're gonna say viciously, by a grown man. Now, I'm not trying to say because the guy wanted to put this in law that, you know, that's the reason why this dude did what he did. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is because of stuff like that, because of people pushing the, like I say, the alphabet letters, pushing their agenda, but not pushing things like they should, like family. Like, I mean, they want to push their agenda, okay, then it's equal, the same amount of attention we push for like families to be together, to stay together, that the government will try to help families. When we talk about families like a husband and a wife, man and woman, children, try to help those that want to become families and become productive members of society, and, you know, who wants to live out the American dream, per se. That the American government should try to do everything they can to help those families come up and become successful, because as long as you have families, your community is better as a whole. Not gonna say 100%, but it'd be a whole hell of a lot better than it is now. And this country would not be headed the way it's heading right now, which is to destruction, because you're too liberal, going against what y'all would like to say is the foundation of this country. But we know better. We know better. It's just all about greed and power. Let's just keep it 100. So again, like I'm saying, because people like I said, a politician who wanted to make this stuff legal, and you don't say nothing against it, and you don't try to pass law, you know, enforce laws, and don't make it a big deal when it happens. You give, when it does happen, you really, you stuck. You don't, y'all don't know what to say, but you know something is wrong, but you don't want to. The problem is you don't want to offend those who supported you. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, because I'm gonna tell you like this, like this story here. I'm gonna get into it just a second. This story here, it happens all the time. This is nothing new. These are things. I mean, my mom was a school nurse in a high school, you know, for some years, and she tells me, she would hear stories like this too often. Somebody, you know, moved in with a family member, And for some reason, they got nowhere to stay, so they sleep on the couch or sleep in the same room as the children, on the floor, thinking, oh, ain't nothing gonna happen because they family. And then kind of find out the little child is with child. But it didn't make the news. It didn't make the news, because again, you got people have their agendas, and they can't fight certain fights if they want to promote and keep their agendas going. You see what I'm saying? So, and yeah, I'm talking about illegal immigrants bringing family members or whatever, illegal immigrants coming over, living with family members, getting a job, and people are allowing them to stay here because they work for cheap. But not knowing, like when Donald Trump was saying stuff like, they bring crime, they bring gangs. Yeah, they do. They, maybe not all of them, but some of them do. Some of them have, and some of them bring these elements to your, some of them are adding problems. You got enough problems as it is living here with the citizens and the stuff that we do. Now you're going to allow other people who are undocumented to come over here and do the same stuff. But let's get into this story real quick. And I'm getting this from the Reuters.com. And this came out July 14th. This says 15 hours ago. Now, this whole story is suspect to me. So, like I said, now I'm really going to get into some details. It's really going to probably upset some people. But again, hey, if you don't like it, who cares? Tell me where I'm wrong. So it says, Ohio man charged with, a 10-year-old who later crossed state lines for abortion. Now, when this story first came out, when the story of the girl going across the state lines to get an abortion came out, it came out not too long after the Roe versus Wade verdict got overturned. But let me get into the story, and then we can go into details like that. Like I said, it says an Ohio man had been charged with doing an ungodly, vicious, vile act on a 10-year-old girl who later traveled to neighboring Indiana for an abortion. A case that President Joe Biden highlighted in criticizing a U.S. Supreme Court decision eliminating a nationwide right to abortion. Again, Roe versus Wade had been passed overturned probably not a week before this happened. Now, when you first heard this story about the abortion part, and it said the little girl, they got done, what had happened to the little girl, nowhere in that story did they mention who, let me say like that, they didn't mention who committed the crime. They didn't say if he was arrested. They didn't say anything about evidence. All they talked about was Roe v. Wade being overturned. And it struck me like, that's interesting. But I said, let me give it a few days. Let me give it a little time and see if anything comes of this. So, Gerson Fuentes, 27, who was arrested on Tuesday, appeared in Franklin County, Ohio Municipal Court for arraignment on Wednesday. A police investigator testified to hearing that Fuentes confessed to doing this to this girl at least twice. Now, let's go back to the title. Ohio man charged. But you Google this man's name like I did, and you'll see that this guy on CNN's website said he was an undocumented immigrant. But again, that was not told in the first, in the first 2 weeks of this incident being found out. The whole narrative was this little girl had to go across the state lines to get an abortion, and those people that overturned Roe v. Wade are just, despicable, out of control, as Joe Biden would say. It said the victim in the case underwent an abortion in neighboring Indiana on June 30th. The officer testified the statewide ban on abortion in Ohio after the 6th week of pregnancy, before many women are aware they are pregnant, went into effect just hours after the Supreme Court's June 24th ruling that struck down Roe v. Wade. the 1973 decision that had established a constitutional right to abortion. Let me say it like this here. Some, not all, but some. It's never 100% nothing to anything. But I'm gonna tell you like this here. They say that after, a woman don't know she's pregnant until after 3 months. How's it? That's kind of like, I ain't gonna say it's impossible, but that don't make sense, right? Because actually, let's say if you are, let's say, consenting adults, let's say you're not on any kind of, birth control or anything like that, you should know that there's a possibility that you can become pregnant. And hold on, let's say you are on birth control. 3 months, now tell me if I'm wrong, is enough time to know if you're pregnant or not. Not saying, now women can say, oh, I didn't know I was pregnant. Did you check? Did you do home tests? Did you go to the clinic and do tests? If you know your cycle was late, or let's say if you're on, some birth control, I guess you don't have a cycle. But again, if you're on birth control, that could be a whole different story. But if you're not on birth control, or if you're having, let's just say if you're having cycles, I mean, these are things you should learn as a child, or as a child, your mother, your grandmother, aunt, sister. Somebody should be teaching you about your body, your anatomy, how it works, how it should work. You know what I'm saying? Whether you go to a doctor, see what you call it, OBG doctor or not. Some things, after a certain age, like I say, I'm not talking about everybody, because sometimes youngins, although they shouldn't be doing this stuff anyway, they don't really understand how the body works. No matter, but when you're grown and you're doing the do that create babies, chances are you are going to create a baby. So maybe you should check and not sit there with your head in the sand and be like, oh, I hope I'm not pregnant. Oh, I hope I'm not pregnant. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, oh, I just found out. Because I know there are a lot of people who say, and I've seen stories where people didn't know they was pregnant, right? Probably didn't think they was going to get pregnant. Well, the case, probably try to time it. That timing stuff don't work. Or probably say the dude, the guy pulled out. But people, what I'm saying? Like I said, these are things you got to teach youngins, that a lot of times the pull-out game don't work. And a lot of times you timing it don't work. I know some people who try to time it, who try to time it to get pregnant and can't get pregnant. And then you got some people who try to time it not to get pregnant and they will get pregnant. So this is education. This is all about being educated and educating the youth. You see what I'm saying? So basically what I'm saying is, that 3 month thing, that's a long time to know you're pregnant, because a lot of people go to the doctors, get their first trimester, going to see the OB doctor. I'm not buying it enough. I'm not buying it enough to where it warrants a major bill like this, or reasoning behind a major bill like this. It said the incident gained attention this month when the Indianapolis Star newspaper reported she had to travel to Indiana to secure an abortion because she was 3 days past Ohio's 6 weeks limit, which does not include exceptions for either one of these, any kind of assault of any kind that creates a baby. Abortions after 6 weeks will remain legal in Indiana, though the Republican-controlled state legislature is expected to consider new restrictions later this month. Now, 3 days. And so let me tell you like this. Like I said, when I heard the story, again, yes, I was skeptical. I was skeptical because, like I said, there was nothing said about the guy who supposedly did this. And then it was, for days on end. And then it was funny how they made it to be a 10-year-old girl of all people. You could, so I'm like, dang, you could have said a 16-year-old, a 26-year-old. But you said a 10-year-old? I said, man, and then she just so happened to be 3 days after the bill was passed that she went and got this done. I mean, it just all seemed like a coincidence. It just not a coincidence. It just all seemed like, a story. Seriously. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. So let's say Biden, a Democrat, spoke of the girl in remarks to reporters about abortion access. Just imagine being that little girl, 10 years old, he said angrily at the White House on Friday. Fuentes is being held on $2 million bond and scheduled for a preliminary hearing on July 22nd. A court-appointed defense attorney for Fuentes did not immediately respond to a request for comment. And all 26 states have either severely restricted abortion in the wake of ruling or are expected to do so in the coming weeks. Some conservatives had questions on the veracity of the Indianapolis Star story. Republican Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost told USA Today Network Ohio Bureau on Tuesday that the details were more likely than not a fabrication because there had been no arrests and no evidence uncovered, Ohio's Columbus Dispatch reported. And that's what we're talking about. There's no reports, no evidence. It's like, what happened? Like, y'all didn't even care about, and that's what I'm saying. Like, how the liberals failed this child because y'all spoke as though her traumatic event, devastating, life-altering, devastating event, was not important enough. Was not as important as the Roe versus Wade stuff being turned over at all. And then two, the second part that was not talked about again was that the boy was an undocumented immigrant. So the liberal media and the politicians got hit on 2 points. 2 points with this story that they could not allow to become the focal point of the story because they want to focus on this verdict because it is midterm, and it's midterm. That's another reason why I'm quite sure this dude and myself and other people was kind of skeptical of it. Not saying, I mean, if it happened, you know what I'm saying, shoot, the dude should be, shot in the penis and hung upside down for everybody to see so he can bleed out. Yes, I believe that. You know what I'm saying? I think he should. I think that should happen to him. But we're talking about the aftermath of when the story came out. But in a statement on Wednesday after the arrest, Yost, who defended the state 6 weeks ban and state Supreme Court decision, said, "My heart aches for the pain suffered by this young child. I am grateful for the diligent work of the Columbus Police Department in securing a confession and getting this dude off the street." I'll say this. It's hard to believe stories on either side. No, I'm not a Republican, not a Democrat. I'm just a guy who looks to vote for someone who got my interests at heart. Who what they stand on and what they're politicking on, represents my needs and my views, period. No matter what side of the fence you're on, because basically to me, I feel like I don't understand why there's two parties at all or why there's only two parties. Because if you for the American people, then everything you talk about, everything you do is for the American people. Then it don't matter what party you on. You're not going to get it 100% of the time. You're not going to please everyone. There's going to be some things that you do that there's going to be things that a politician does that you like, and things you don't like. You just got to weigh the pros and cons and cast your vote. Not just saying we're going to vote all red or we're going to vote all blue or vote all green. We're going to vote for that person, that individual person who's right for us. Which means once everything is done in Congress and the Senate and the House and Representatives or whatever, once it's forms, it could be a bunch of different parties. Republican, Democrat, the Green Party, the Tea Party, Independent Party. It could be people on 5, 6, 7 different parties, whatever you create, sitting in them seats. And that's how it should be anyway, because you represent the people, not a party. But the liberal side, like I say, I feel, fail this young girl ain't gonna fail many more. Like I said, this story, the problem is, like I say, it happens all too often. And it's not made a big deal. It's only made a big deal now because of the timing. If this would have happened last year, if this would have happened next year, I promise you, it wouldn't have been a national news story. But that's the world we live in. Everybody want to be, part of, news cycle. Everybody they want to jump on some people trying to keep, their political positions. It is what it is. But like I said, the liberals are going to have to do better. This should be a wake-up call. This should be a wake-up call for those who follow and call themselves liberals and vote just a liberal, just on the liberal side only. Because this is like I said, you got to put it all together. You just can't separate, one situation from another. You got to put it all together to make, to create a choice, to make things better. Can't sit here and allow people to even put out there that they want to make pedophilia legal. You cannot do it. You can't sit here and allow people to say, hey, it's, just saw a video the other day where it says hundreds of illegal immigrants are coming across the border. Uninhibited, just walking across that water like it ain't nothing. This is not good for the country. I am sorry. It's just not good for the country. Not this way. If you go to any other country, you got to get passports. If you're trying to, you got to get visas. If you're trying to move and become citizens, you got to take, you got to do so much, like, take tests, be there for a certain amount of time, and then you can get the citizenship, and then, be treated like a citizen in that country, pay your taxes, get your benefits, all that kind of stuff. But here, they let these folks come over and welcome them in from south of the border, east of the border, whatever. And welcome them in and give them all kind of benefits, give them all kind of, government assistance or what have you, room and board, jobs. But yet you got citizens of this country who are homeless. You got citizens of this country, and homeless at a big rate. That doesn't even make sense. Where you got people who graduate college and got degrees that are homeless because they can't afford to live anywhere. But yet you bring over people who somehow, can work, but they always know that they're doing, but you know what? They're doing what we're going to need to do anyway. And that's like all families come in, move together, take care of each other. That's how it should be anyway. That's how it should be. But when you allow this illegal behavior to happen, like I say, the country, it's going down. It is going down. And when something happens to your children, that should always be number one. Children and old people, when somebody commits crime or does something against kids, babies, and old folks, that should always be a top priority. To forget the rest of that mess. Forget the goddamn court case. That's bull. That I don't care. That shouldn't even been part of the story. To tell you the truth, yes, she had to go across the state line, but you know what? This shouldn't even happen because it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided if laws and protections that are in place, were actually adhered to, enforced all the way around. And that's what I'm trying to say. You cannot, what they say, you can't cover a gunshot wound with a freaking Band-Aid. You cannot do it. And that's what they're trying to do with this story. But because you're not fixing the root problem. The root problem is take care of your people first. For this story. I ain't saying all, because like I said, it happens quite more often than you think, even with our own people. And that's something there. You had programs in place, you had, like mental programs in place. What do you call it? Like school programs in place, things where kids can be watched, kids can be kids, like after school programs and things like that. it can help, help these parents out because they're having children. Like I said, they're trying to live the American dream, whatever, and you're not allowing it to happen. And so when you're not allowing it to happen and you let stuff go by the wayside, problems are going to happen. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about this story. Like I said, I can go on this thing for forever. But tell me what you think. Leave your comment below and then share it with the world. That's all we can do, man. Let's make this, if we're going to live here, you're going to stay here, man. We got to make this country as the best we can. But if not, I had to go somewhere else. But anyway, that being said, I leave you in peace, and I'll see you on the other side.